When it comes to long-running movie franchises and well-known ones especially, none have truly had a rougher time being fucked over by Hollywood than Batman. The Batman franchise for the past 4 decades has been routinely butchered on the big screen, as few genuinely good movies are overshadowed by the colossal level of crap that has been shat out by the series to this day. One of these inbred fuck-ups just so happens to be The Dark Knight Rises, a sequel to The Dark Knight, and the film that basically got carried by the previous movie into being remembered as an overall solid film. But when you pull off the nostalgia goggles that usually blinds people's opinions around this movie, you quickly realize this is a movie filled with retarded plot holes, bad writing, and a nonsensical story that feels like it was written by someone with a room temperature IQ. This movie does not deserve anything close to the extreme praise that it gets flooded with routinely, and understanding the brain-melting retardation of this movie is going to require some digging into the plot, so let's get our shit and dive into this fucking disaster. While I could do a general synopsis of this movie, I wanted to first look at the opening scene of this movie because it perfectly demonstrates everything wrong with this piece of shit. So the movie opens up with some nuclear scientist guy fleeing the CIA in Uzbekistan or something, after rejecting an offer to build a nuclear bomb for some terrorist group led by Bane. So the CIA decides to pick him up on a plane in Uzbekistan to protect him, but for some reason they also decide to bring along the captured terrorists that are hunting for the guy in the first place. Because why wouldn't you leave your extremely valuable asset flying in the same plane as the men hunting for him? What could possibly go wrong? Oh. Well, I guess he needed them on the same plane so he could, interrogate him, I guess, but why wouldn't you just do that on the ground in Uzbekistan, or do it on a different plane, or do it literally anywhere else? These are all questions for a smarter movie, but since Christopher Nolan seems to think you're a fucking retard, these obvious questions go ignored so we can have this convoluted scene play out. For you see, Bane actually planned to get captured on purpose just so he could get his hands on the nuclear scientist guy, because I guess he just magically knew that the CIA would load him and his men onto the exact same plane for absolutely no fucking reason.
You went full retard, man.
Now you might be asking how he could possibly escape this heavily guarded flight aboard a CIA aircraft with nuclear scientist guy, assuming this already dumb as fuck plan works out. But Christopher Nolan actually has a perfect idea, because out of nowhere, a giant ass cargo plane just appears above the plane and somehow goes completely unnoticed by anyone on the plane, including the fucking pilots. I guess Bane just lucked out that the pilots on the CIA flight don't have radars, mirrors, or even fucking eyeballs, because if they had any of those, they would have immediately spotted the plane, and Bane's retarded-ass plan would have immediately fallen apart. But since this movie is written by Christopher Nolan, Bane's men from the cargo plane managed to jump onto the side of the plane, without the CIA pilots doing really anything up to moving the plane slightly, just so Bane's plan could succeed, I guess.
Are you retarded?
With the dumb as fuck CIA killed in a bullet storm which somehow doesn't hit Bane or any one of his men, he decides to take nuclear scientist guy with him and fake their deaths with a blood transfusion, because I guess 10 seconds worth of blood in somebody's body magically changes their DNA or something. While this stupid shit is happening, the cargo plane manages to grab a hold of the CIA plane and tip it over, which causes the plane's wings to just fall off for some reason, because I guess planes aren't built for wind resistance. Finally, with this extremely convoluted plan complete, the opening scene ends. Holy shit, what a fucking disaster that was. This opening scene is filled with so many highlights of bad writing that it's beyond jaw-dropping how someone could genuinely give a positive rating for this movie after seeing this shit, let alone calling it almost a masterpiece. No one in this scene uses their brain in any regard just so we can have this dumb as hell plan for Bane play out. A plan which is so devoid of logic that it would fail every time if anyone wasn't a complete fucking moron. This problem plagues the entire movie, and the first scene is a perfect demonstration of it, because nothing in the scene works right. It's just trying to make itself look smart by having an extremely complicated plan play out that in reality makes no fucking sense. When we look at the fucking nightmare of a story that plagues the rest of this movie, it'll become pretty fucking clear what an incoherent mess this movie is. So with her dumb as hell opening finish, we cut back to Gotham, which has been without Batman for about 8 years after he took the blame for Harvey Dent's death. Bruce himself is now old and weak, and with a company that is on the down because he sunk a bunch of fucking money into a nuclear reactor project, but pulled the plug when he realized it could be turned into a nuclear bomb. Now you might wonder how the hell he wouldn't already know this. I mean, it's a nuclear reactor, of course that shit can be made into a bomb. But I guess since Bruce is retarded, he decides to sink billions into the reactor so the rest of the plot can happen. So with this thing having the plug pulled on it, you think the thing might be decommissioned or something, or really anything. I mean, the whole reason it stopped getting funded was due to safety concerns, so it would be obvious to deactivate the thing.
This is now a 4-megaton nuclear bomb.
Well, fucking of course not. This movie needs some more brain-dead characters to keep the plot moving forward. So while Bane is making his bomb, Bruce decides to start hanging out with some bitch whose name I forgot and engage in the most obvious too-good-to-be-true love story possible, which inevitably ends with her betraying Bruce at the end, but don't worry, we'll get into that later. With both sides doing their shit, Christopher Nolan decides to drop Catwoman into the movie for no reason, who steals Bruce's fingerprints and allows Bane to bankrupt Wayne Enterprises during an attack on the Gotham Stock Exchange, because I guess trades made during a terrorist incident are just counted as legit for some reason, so we can move the plot forward, of course. Noticing a pattern? This action has its intended effect, however, of making Bruce want to be Batman again to kick Bane's ass, but Alfred decides to be a little bitch for some reason and quits, because I guess he just doesn't think Bruce can win. So instead of helping him during Bruce's fight with Bane, Alfred decides to be a useless retard, which causes Bruce to get his ass kicked and captured by Bane. With Batman so weak and now under the control of Bane, Christopher Nolan wrote himself into a corner, and so decides to employ some good old-fashioned plot convenience and stupidity to move the plot forward. With Bruce being thrown into some fucking prison halfway across the world, which conveniently has running water, electricity, food, despite having no actual guards for some fucking reason. Now, why are there no guards in this prison? No fucking clue, but I will say it might be because we need Bruce to escape, because I guess good writing in this movie is fucking impossible to happen. In the meantime, Bane decides to take over Gotham and place the nuclear bomb from earlier in the center to go off in 6 months because we need an artificial time limit to provide any stakes to this fucking train wreck. You might be wondering why Bane even bothers to put a timer on the bomb, considering how he stays the whole time and has no plans on leaving Gotham once it actually explodes, so why not just blow it up right now? But those are questions for a smart movie, and Christopher Nolan clearly is not making that. A question that the movie does answer is, how does Bane even manage to take over Gotham, a city of literally millions of people? Well, you see, he simply baits the police into the sewers somehow, and when I say police, I mean every single officer in Gotham just falls into this very obvious trap because I guess the idea of strategic reserves or protecting the city is too smart for this movie. So with Gotham under Bane's control, he decides to spread his loving message of communism to Gotham by immediately letting the place fall to shit. But unfortunately, there's one kink in this flawless plan that Bane forgot about: Bruce. Because he trained himself back in the nonsense prison to become really strong again and decides to defeat Bane with this genius, truly 4D chess plan that no one could ever see coming. Punching him really hard in the face. Fucking genius. But oh no, that dumb bitch from earlier stabs Bruce, because as it turns out, she was the only other person to escape that fucking retarded prison. This despite the fact that she was a small weak girl at the time and the fucking grown-ass men in the prison couldn't even escape, but oh well, she's the villain now, and I guess she just decides to go detonate the bomb, except apparently not, because she just gets killed about 5 seconds later, I guess. But oh no, the bomb can't be stopped, so Batman decides to use the Batwing and fly the bomb out of the city before it can explode. And he just dies. That sucks. We go to Alfred crying some more in a restaurant before Bruce randomly just shows up and is magically alive. This all despite the fact that he was about 20 feet away from a nuclear explosion, but don't worry about it, he has plot armor I guess, and the movie's over.
Daddy, chill.
What the hell is even that?
I think it's safe to say that this movie's fucking awful. The Dark Knight Rises is one of the most meandering and nonsensical stories ever to be put to film. Nothing in this nearly 3-hour waste of time is done remotely competently or even well at all. Outside of the performances occasionally poking through the awful writing, this pile of shit can seemingly do nothing right. The entire story is strung along with plot conveniences and characters doing retarded things just to write Nolan out of corners or for the sake of the plot. Bane's plan is only able to happen because everyone, including Bruce, has seemingly had their brains removed and does everything in such a roundabout way that it bloats the movie into a total fucking train wreck. Nothing is ever built up or set up because the movie seems to want to get itself over like it doesn't even want to be there. And tell me about it, I'm stuck fucking reviewing this awful piece of shit. Every vague philosophical rambling that plagues Nolan movies is delivered so shit in this movie that it completely dilutes the actual plot of the movie. Things just happen for 3 hours and that's it. The movie's over. Christopher Nolan effectively just slaps some fucking familiar characters on screen to do some bullshit while reading philosophical quotes off Google. And that's the movie. It's 3 hours of that. It wants to sound smart, but it isn't smart. It's fucking retarded. The Dark Knight Rises is one of the dumbest, most incoherent, and borderline retarded films of all time that is only remembered because it happened to be a sequel to The Dark Knight. Now it gets unfair praise despite being an objectively awful movie because it's a movie that makes people feel smart without actually having to be smart itself. This movie is a piece of shit. It is a fucking piece of shit, but honestly, I would actually recommend it so you can firsthand experience the full force of this movie's stupidity, and just maybe it will change the opinion on this movie to how it should be. The Dark Knight Rises was, is, and will always be a retarded disaster. That's the video. Bye.